Welcome to Hiring Happy Humans, where we talk about all things HR with a variety of folks, from CEOs to community partners, sharing up-to-date trends, best practices, and our wild workplace stories. Each interview is designed to leave you with the knowledge to keep your sanity. I'm your host, Dawn Sipley of Sipley the Best. Thanks for joining in, and let's jump into this week's episode. Welcome, everybody, back to Hiring Happy Humans. I am so excited to have Michael Allison here with me today. He has lived quite the life, many lives, I think. And I just love speaking with people with different backgrounds than myself that have been in some high-level leadership roles and had some adversity, because those who have walked through fire are kind of forged in a different manner. So thank you so much, Michael, for joining us today.
Hey, Dawn, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So just for our guests who don't know who you are, could you just give us the high-level view of who Michael is?
Absolutely. So I'm a keynote speaker, an author. I'm the founder and CEO of the Adversity Academy, where we help people break the bottle, and that's through going through different processes of our programs to help people gain clarity and just getting much more aligned with their purpose and their mission in life.
What gave you a passion or the authority to speak on adversity?
I think my life has been very tested in regards to adversity, and it showed me so much about my character and the resilience that's within myself. And from all of the adversities that I've been through in my life, I felt that I was much more than qualified to talk about people and help lead people get through some tough times and tough situations in their life or throughout business, because I've faced it in my personal life growing up, and then some things that I've experienced as a business owner too as well.
Yeah. One of my keynote topics is parentification and how childhood trauma can impact who we are in the workplace. A lot of people have a tendency to keep mental health and subjects like that, self-improvement and everything, separate from the workplace. And I really feel like they're intertwined with one another. When we go to work, it's not like we leave behind all of that trauma or baggage or anything. It really impacts how we see authority, how we communicate, our sense of urgency, our resiliency. I love that word. That's kind of like the key word here lately in my life. I've been trying to identify a little bit of some challenges that some clients have been talking about, and it really has come back to resiliency, the inability to have a hard conversation or go through a hard moment and then just be done with it, put it behind them, and keep on going. What do you think helps people be resilient, or what creates resiliency? Are you a believer that it's something that you're born with, or something that you're kind of trained to do after being exposed to different life circumstances?
I personally believe that it's once someone has been through these types of experience, it helps them develop that resiliency within themselves and have them gain that confidence. Prior to that, most people have anxiety, they have fear, they have doubt, and that's why people lean towards you want to say like a mentor or a coach and things like that that help them get them through tough situations. For myself, speaking to what you're saying, I do believe and agree that personal development it does intertwine with your business development and different things like that in all aspects. I know myself as a business owner, I had to face a couple of things from my childhood that I had to address, and it affected how I dealt with my vendors, how what I dealt with customers, some of my employees as well. So you can't separate the two.
Right. No, no. I see that you've got some beautiful stuff there in the background, a uniform included. How long did you serve our nation?
Yeah, I served in the Marine Corps for 8 years. I enlisted in Camp Lejeune. I
Okay.
started there in Camp Lejeune, toured in Okinawa, Japan. I was on the 31st MEU for about a year or so. And then from there, I went to Camp Pendleton, California. From California, I did tour in Iraq during Fallujah in 2004. And once
Wow.
I came back from Iraq, I served in Quantico, where I was an instructor teaching officers how to pretty much fight in a play war, so to speak.
Oh, that's you've seen some action then. I'm familiar with both of those things, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on there. So thank you so much for your service and your sacrifice.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You know, the Marine Corps taught me so many lessons. When I joined, you know, I always knew that there was possibility of serving or going to war, but to actually go through it and experience it and having so much responsibility and it that putting yourself in such a high stress level, it teaches you so much about yourself when it comes to like your leadership skills, all of your soft skills, hard skills, all of these different things that you have to intertwine and making key decisive decision in key decisive moments is
Right.
so important in regards to like your personal development as well too.
Yeah. What are some business lessons that you learned as a Marine?
You know, I think as I would say from being a Marine that translated in regards to business lessons is the number one thing for me was leadership, and leadership comes in many different ways, and you could be the one that's leading, and you could also be the one in regards to learning how to share a vision, to cultivate other people's to believe in that vision in regards to getting something accomplished all together as one. So in regards to like you being someone to inspire people, motivate people, you have to develop that relationship, you have to develop that culture and get people to buy in to whatever you're trying to incorporate. And I saw that was very important when I was applying those things into my business as well. The next thing is around communication, and I think it's effective communication where you could speak to people on their level and they understand what needs to be done and getting people to buy into what the message is.
Mm,
So when you're delivering this message and you're speaking to people and getting them involved, they feel valued, they feel important, they feel like they can contribute to serve the greater mission of what you're asking them to do with you as well. And communication is both ways. It's not just up, and it also goes down to as well. It goes to the side too as well to whoever's involved. And I think that's also important when you're trying to get things accomplished and get people on one accord. I also would say, you know, the networking aspects of things is super important for me. One of the lessons I learned early in my career was never burn bridges that you have to cross again. So,
right.
I love to work with people, get other people's insights, and never be too proud and show a bit of humility whenever I need help from somebody else in regards to anything that I needed to do in the Marine Corps or throughout business as well too.
Yeah. Yeah. The bridge burning, I think, is really key. For me, I'm born and raised in the same town, third generation, actually. And sometimes you think you'll never see them again. But then their brothers, uncles, cousins, pet sitter shows up at your front door one day,
That's
you know.
right. That's right.
So I can count numerous times, thankfully, where I do have a tendency to lead with a lot of grace, sometimes too much grace. I've been taken advantage of in some ways. Um, but when I see those people pop up again, you know, I know that I can walk away from those relationships going, you know, I might have gotten the short end of the stick, but if they talk bad about me, that's on them, because I went and did everything that I could do to kind of rectify that situation. And it's absolutely mind-boggling, the 7 degrees of separation that we have. Even, you know, even if you're not born and raised in the same town, I'm sure you've seen in your travels bumping into people across continents or countries that you're like, hey, what are you doing here? You know, so I think bridge burning is really important. Always trying to end a relationship with a high level of integrity, whether they've earned it or not, you know.
Definitely. I think whether you're going to sever a relationship, it always should be amicable where both parties either agree to disagree, but
Right.
there's always a good level of respect, high level of respect
Right.
between both of you, whether you choose to go your own separate ways. We got to come to I think when we talk about like adversity, we got to come to the understanding that not every single situation is going to go great, right? There's going to be issues, there's going to be problems, and there may be opportunities to work together on different things, maybe just not this thing here that we have right now.
And that's fine. Having issues and having problems is fine. We live in such a polarized community that we can't just not vibe. You know, we have to be kind of them versus us. So, you know, I would say 90% of the relationships that we have in life, whether business or personal, at some point they're going to end, you know, either by our choice or the good Lord's. But just kind of stepping out in faith and really taking the high road of integrity, even when it's not just, which can stink, but you kind of never regret it in the long run.
I agree with you. I had another company that I was working in, and we decided to set a couple things on the back burner with this company when it was around media production and some video things.
Mhm.
And the person that I was working with, I ended the relationship working with them because I did not need them anymore. But we had an opportunity for a government contract where we could work with them and partner on them for this government contract. So I reached back out to them and say, "Hey, I have this opportunity that I would like to work with you on. Would you be the subcontractor on this job?" And they was open for it. So that's what I mean by that in regards to, like, we ended the relationship. I stopped paying him for what he was doing, but there's more opportunities down the road in regards to like just keeping that open door in regards to that relationship that we had going.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things that you mentioned, that you learned from the Marines is leadership, and that leads good relationships. And a lot of people they throw that word around like a lot, like relationships, and that communication that's not just vertical, but it goes down and it's across the board. But what does it look like when the rubber meets the road? We can have these concepts, but in the workplace, how do we balance, like, a level of not intimacy in the romantic way, but level of really knowing someone while still keeping it, a business relationship?
Definitely. What has worked for me is having a keen interest in regards to that other person to be successful. So that means you have to sit down with that
Goal
person and get
focused relationship.
right. So get
Yeah.
with that person and actually meet with them, talk with them, and see what is important to them in regards to the role they're in, the company that they're working for. So if it is to get promoted, if it is to network with other people, if it is to be assigned much more project and get more responsibility and things like that, and if that's what makes them feel whole, you as the leader see how you could cultivate that and empower that person where they feel valued by you. That's what I mean by getting intimate with them and understanding some things like that. If the person chooses to say, "Hey, I'm going through a divorce, have 5 kids," and they want to get much more personal and things like that, if they do so, that's fine. If they choose to do that with you, but that's where you have to learn how much you want to get involved in
Receive.
this type of situation and
Right.
things like that. Yes, because those situations can go south if they share too deep of a personal thing with you, and that's where you have to come in as the manager to know how far you want to take that.
Yeah, yeah. I had a star employee where I was new in leadership. We had been coworkers, and then I became an executive, and then I became an owner. And I found that we were too close. She was telling me stuff you would tell your bestie, and to manage her, it was really hard because I was privy to information. When I went back to her and said, "Hey, listen, I love you and I want what's best for your career," because first and foremost, I'm your boss. Our relationship developed from, this employment kind of situation. I'm not going to be able to go out in the evenings with you anymore and things like that. My heart, it hasn't changed for you, but just the activities that I'm doing, I just kind of got to pull that back. And she was aghast and so offended. And she was like, "I don't want to work for someone who can't be my friend," and everything. But after that initial moment and her shock of me kind of putting up that boundary, we were fine. We were absolutely fine. She performed better than she ever performed because I was able to hold her accountable in ways that I hadn't been comfortable doing when we had that overly intimate relationship. So, and I think that's a thing that a lot of small business owners struggle with because they don't have an HR department. It's just like an owner and their employees, and they talk all day. They're riding in trucks together. They're on job sites together. They're winning business. They're losing business, and then before you know it, you kind of get. And so when they ask for that extended vacation or they start coming in late, it can be a challenge to manage them then.
I agree with you. I've seen quite a few scenarios, and one similar to what you just said, but another one where there was two peers working together side by side.
Mhm.
The other one got promoted and became that person's boss because they got promoted within the same department, and
Right.
their relationship turned out to not be the greatest relationship anymore once they
Oh,
became their boss. And that played out in a negative way. And it's interesting when things like this happen, because that's why you have to be very, very careful in regards to the, I want to say maybe the politics of relationships within inside of a workplace.
Right.
And as managers or as supervisors, got to be careful in regards to, like, because you're going to see if you're there in the office, or if you see this, or you're delegating people to be in leadership roles to see some of these things, you got to be careful of understanding some of these dynamics, because it could make your work situation become a very toxic workplace, and that affects the culture, that affects the outcome of the work, that affects so many things that's tied to that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how much egos and feelings drive business, either to the sky or to the ground. It's amazing.
What's also crazy is you just said something that was so profound. So I purchased a franchise, and I was running a construction company down here in South Florida. And if you know much about a franchise, most thing is plug and play. It comes set up for
Right.
you in regards to running the business. And I had a sales team, and I used to go out with the sales team and train them. And I used to take them to lunch, and we were taking flights together and things like that. And we went on a business trip, on a training trip, and one of the persons that I hired decided to do things in regards to like bringing back information of things that they were doing, like hanging out and partying and things like
Mhm.
that, and some of
Yeah.
the things around their background and things like that. And I had to let them go
Mhm.
because of some things that they disclosed while we were there, because they felt comfortable to share some
Right.
stuff
Right.
that was not disclosed on a background check. And I was like, they felt like they were that comfortable to share certain things. That's why you got to be super, super careful as a supervisor, as a manager, of how close you get to your employees.
Yeah, yeah. We always put out information in early November about that very thing, because Christmas parties start happening, that kind of stuff. Alcohol gets infused in things, travel trips occur, you win a lot of salespeople in particular, because they're creatures of their own, if we're honest, right? They're charismatic and wild and all of those things. So one, yeah, we always talk about, just because it's social feeling and there may be alcohol and there may be music and there may be a dance floor, doesn't mean that it won't be remembered once you clock back in and you're in the office under the fluorescent lights. Everybody
A lot of careers have ended from some Christmas
so
parties.
many, so many. And then the other side of that is I do a lot of talking. I go into our local jail and I talk to women solely. They asked me to talk to the guys. I was like, no, they ain't gonna listen to anything I gotta say in there. But I talk to the women, because so many times these women, they'll get out and they'll change a new leaf, and then they'll be in a job and they'll be there 2 or 3 years and they're doing good and they've left that old life behind. Then they get a little work friend or whatever, and then they start telling their work friend about the felony they caught or the wild night they had, and then they end up losing their job. Nothing
Yeah.
to do with their performance, but everything to do with, oh, we didn't know you had a background, we didn't know you rolled like that. And it's just like, so I try to tell them, like, you can be deep into it and think that you have a high level of trust, but let me tell you, gossip, people love to share juicy stuff. So just keep it in mind that, your past is your past. You're dead to it. Once the door's open, like, it ain't nobody's business. Not everybody has the privilege to hear your testimony, especially if they write your paycheck.
I 1000% agree with you. Loose lips sink ships, and then it's hard for some people to really gain the concept of work is work and your personal life is your personal life.
Yeah.
And when those get blended or intertwined, there comes opportunities for it could be used against you.
Yeah. So I know that you're a coach as well. So what types of things, what kinds of problems are people coming to you with? Are you seeing a theme? Does it change throughout time? Because you've been doing this for a minute. So, I mean, we had the pandemic. I'm sure that was interesting to coach people through and stuff, but I'm a big believer in a coach. You can't level up unless you're, walking with someone who has already blazed that trail before you. So what are you seeing out there?
A lot of people that I've encountered is struggling with the productivity piece of life, and they get stuck in their own ways, or they get stuck, or they develop momentum and they'll fall off because that motivation has fallen off, or something in their life happens and they get tripped up. And my job as the coach, as coming in, is to help encourage them and gain, and kind of like how you see like your basketball coaches, your football coaches, like these people have the talents, they have the skills to do all of these things, but they just need someone to push them and get them past some of these hurdles in their life. So I come in and I give them the skills in regards to getting to their purpose of what they're trying to like gain when it comes to like being consistent, developing good, healthy habits that they need to incorporate in their lives. So I have the personal development accelerator program, and I break it down under three things: decision, direction, and destination. And
Ooh,
breaking it down on those three pillars is easy to help people get their lives under control, get problem solved, and create a high level of standard for themselves, high value for themselves, and then giving them an opportunity to know their true worth and know their true value and how to be an impact into this world. And from doing so with those three things, they gain so much clarity, they get their life much more aligned, they learn how to say no to a lot of things, that they were saying yes to in their lives.
yes. Yeah.
And
I,
through the program, we've seen a lot of people go on a path of self-discovery. We've seen a path of transformation. And what also happens, what I've found also, is that people come in the program and they'll find that they were holding on to some of these childhood traumas. They were holding on to some things that people did to them in the past. And whenever it's kind of like how we kind of say some parts in our lives are seasonal, right? And
I,
I'm a person of faith, so like when I'm ever in church, sometimes they'll talk about what season are you in,
I,
and some people will notice that some of their seasons repeat, and we'll get to the bottom of why are things repeating in your life? Why do these things that we're about to cross over into a new year,
mm,
right? Why are some of these things are recurring like every single year, or every 2 or 3 years, or every 4 years, the same thing occur. So we dive deep in some of these things when we go through decision, direction, and destination, and then we kind of figure those things out and get you much more aligned.
yeah. Well, I mean, like trauma bonding and things like that, just because it's comfortable and familiar doesn't mean that it serves you anymore. And it might have served you in a season of survival, but it's not going to serve you in a season of growth or instability, or even finding peace. But so many people get addicted to that surge that happens when crisis occurs, or you know life hits the fan, or something. It almost they get yancy if they don't have anything kind of going on. I know that's something that I had experienced in, I think it had to have been my mid 30s. I
Mhm.
looked at my husband one day and I said, my anxiety is just through the roof. And he's like, why? What's going on? I said, nothing. Bills are paid, our kids are healthy, our marriage is fantastic. What who's gonna die? What's gonna happen? What accident is around the corner? Because my life had never been just stable and easy
Mhm.
before. There had always kind of been these influences, like my parents and employers that came in my out of my life, causing these peaks. And I was very used to it, and I manage all of that very well. That's what makes me a great entrepreneur, is nothing really shakes me. It's just like, oh, they said no. Where someone else who hasn't gone through what I've gone through, they'd be crushed if someone,
Right, right, right.
denied the sales proposal or something like that. So
What I was gonna add to that, you're so right about that. I was thinking about my story and my situation, how I had to find that life of transformation.
right.
And I was stuck in the seasons of depression, suicidal thoughts, and I've always wondered, why was I in these cycles or these seasons, and they were tied to so many things. So I've been through two divorces, and being in this particular state, in a depressive state, I was doing things that I should not be doing. If it was alcohol, it was medications,
Mhm.
and I was like, why am I making some of these bad decisions in my life whenever like these bad things occurred to me?
Right.
Or something happened on my job and it was something or dealing with like authority figures. And I was like, oh, these are tied to some of the childhood trauma with authority figures doing things in my life that was attributed to me as an adult now. And then once I started unpacking some of these things became much more clear in regards to, oh, this is the trigger. This is what's going on. So let me start figuring these things out. And having all of these tools in my toolbox changed my whole skill sets of things in regards to just dealing with issues and things like that as I was deciding to move forward with my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Those response behaviors, those coping mechanisms can, something can be terrible and sad and hard, but then you can make it tragic by your response to it.
That's right.
It doesn't have to be as bad as it is. It can just be uncomfortable and not kind of the end of the world. So
That's what I meant when I was saying like personal development does tie into your professional career as well too, because I noticed that it was pouring into my professional career as I was not performing at the peak performance as that I know I could do or be at my job.
mhm. That's one reason why I love to hire people who have either served or have been in sports or have been in what I call like extreme activities, like bungee jumping or skydiving, something, because they understand what you do off the field impacts game day.
Absolutely.
If you're hungover, you're not going to be a top performer. If you're overeating, you're going to be lethargic. If you're not exercising, your body's going to be sore. And it's like we wonder why we can't get it figured out. And it's, I sit with CEOs of large companies, and they're like, I just feel stuck. And I go, well, how's your diet? How's your exercise? How's your spiritual life? No, I'm here for business, Dawn. I know. We're starting with the ground, bro. like this is 101. Like, no, I'm not trying to be in your business. I'm trying to be on your business. So what are we talking about here? And for them, that they're just like, it's like, this is no, you can't pour from that empty cup. For me as a believer as well, like, we talked about that burnout. Well, that burnout happens not because you've lost your passion, but because you stop filling that cup and you're just kind of running from that empty place.
Yeah, if you got empty cups, you can't pour into nothing else, or any of those things will leave you empty, and that's what leads to the burnouts, the depression, the stress, the anxiety, and it just trickles all into your business as well
It
too. So
snowballs.
yeah.
Absolutely. So what habits do you have in your life now that you've kind of gone through those seasons and you've learned those hard lessons? Like what safety nets do you have? Because for me, having been through some things, I have to have my safety nets because I can slip right back into it and not notice. And then two, what habits or activities do you do from getting you back into that place?
I love that question. So for me, there's a couple of things that I employed into my life, right? So my daily routine is I'm up 5:30, 5:45 ish in the morning,
Yep.
and then I head to gym. So I get a workout in for about an hour and a half, and then
Ooh,
I come
okay.
home and I lift weights. From there, I come back and I read the Bible, and I read the Bible and I meditate on the Word, and then I have my coffee and all those things, and then I get ready to start my day about 9 o'clock. So
Mhm.
I want to say about 3 4 hours in the morning is all just focusing on me and my faith.
Right.
Then I go about my day, and then periodically throughout my day, I do check-ins with myself just to see where I'm at. I have a counselor that I do work with, and something that me and her incorporated into my life is we have this app, and it's just to breathe. And so I do quite a few different breath work throughout the
Oh,
day. And it's
right. I
just
don't think it, so many people don't know the power of breathing. It sounds so silly, like just breathe. It's like I breathe all the time. It's like, no, it is. Yes, I love hearing
yeah,
you say
so me and her have went through my entire life, my entire process of things that's affected me and where I need to be in regards to like being grounded and being centered on things. And one of the key things that she helped implement in my life was just the breathing techniques and just being centered and just being refocused,
that.
just filling my brain back up just to get back centered and focused. That's one thing. In addition to that, though, things that I know I needed in my life. So I have a fitness coach, right? So personally, for me, I spent the last couple of years more details about my life. And I'm not one to like make blames or excuses or anything like that, but I was in a very depressive state several years ago, and I had to put on a lot of weight. And I said, I'm not gonna do like this or live like this anymore. So I'm gonna focus on myself to get healthy. So I
Mhm.
hired a trainer to get me in my best shape that I could be in. So now we're on the path of getting back in shape. So that's what I'm doing every single day. That's why I said I work out every single day now.
That's
So
awesome.
so someone is working with me and they're keeping me accountable in regards to what I'm eating and the exercise that I'm doing. The next thing that I did is I had a spiritual person into my life to help me stay centered with my faith and focus. So aside from me going to church, aside from me praying, but I meet with another guy that's a faith believer, and we just sit down and talk about things that men are dealing with. We talk about family things. We talk about, and all of these are faith based and centered in regards to just staying grounded. Um, in regards to all of the things that I'm doing. Then I have a business mentor. So my business mentor is obviously a business owner that's doing well above what I'm doing because he's successful. And that's how I kind of look at myself in regards to if I want to get to the next level in business, I want to work with someone that's already doing great in business too as well. And then lastly, I have an accountability partner. So if I have these goals, so I'll share with you here. So
Yes.
we have this is my 2024 list of everything that I have going on. It's like five
Uh-huh.
or six pages. It's like this is my 2024
There you
list of
go.
business. So I shared that with them and they're keeping me accountable and getting all of these things accomplished every single month that we're
Right.
sitting down together. So I've employed other people in my life to help me to stay on the path that I'm trying to get to in life and just to continue to be successful, continue to bless other people, empower other people, and just be the best version of myself whenever I'm pouring into other people too as well. So I had to pour myself first.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Michael, I love the tribe that you have built around you. I'm an avid reader. I see that you got a bookshelf there behind you as well. And I think two of the most important things that I've learned this year is one, more serotonin is made in your gut than it is in your brain. That helped me eat healthier because I need that happy juice. And two, that really kind of controlling social media and what I put into my eyes and ears is
Mm.
really, really important. So I love to read. My family makes fun of me because I don't read. I say I don't read for fun. They say I don't read for fun. I say it's very fun because all my books are like self-improvement, how to do this, how to do that, what are some of the books that you have found that shifted you? Because I'm a big believer in no one's going to wake up and be another person one day, but we can consistently input into ourselves to make that 1 degree change that will completely change the trajectory of your life.
I love the book right now. The book that I'm reading right now is it's on an audio book, but it's by Chad Carmichael, and his book is called The One Word.
Oh,
And that book speaks a lot about your personal development, but it also talks about who you are and getting people to believe in you and trusting in you when you're trying to work on your personal development and working on your business. And I've read that book twice now already, back to back, because I love the book so much. The other book that I really like is A Sense of Urgency. The other book that I really like as well is The Entrepreneur Roller Coaster by Darren Hardy. I love that book as well. Then the other book I've recently read last month was Brandon Bouchard's book, and his book was about the 6 habits. And
oh,
those
the Atomic
that book,
Habits?
yeah, the atomic. It wasn't Atomic Habits. It was
No,
Six
no,
Habits,
another one.
right?
Okay.
And that book right there was so profound just to hear about his story. He was talking about how he broke up with his girlfriend, and that led him on the path of almost committing suicide. And from there, he decided to change his life. And that book was really, really good for me as well too. There's quite a few other books that I've been reading.
I
So
love
I kind of bounce back with personal development books and business books. So I
right.
bounce back with both as I try to like have a good balance. So I look at things that, all right, maybe I want to do some of these things in my business. I'm going to read a business book. And
Mhm.
then I want to tweak some of these things in my personal life. So I'm going to read this type of book to help me as I keep my mind mentally stimulated as well, too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I find it just great in business to constantly be learning so you can have conversations that are worth anything.
That's
So
right.
many people, sometimes I get frustrated when I go to networking events or, I'm supposed to go and mix and mingle. And the conversation is just so, how's the weather, and if I've taken plenty of personality tests in my day, and I'm definitely one of those who's relationship driven, impact motivated. If I'm not making an impact, and I think that ties back to my childhood trauma, I found a lot of value on being my mother's savior, and she always thanked me for being such a good girl and listening and taking charge and having good ideas and helping out. Like, that's what fed me. So as an employee, I was great because I was always there like a puppy, ready to take charge, get it done, stay late, come early, like, because that's how I valued myself. But when I got older, it made me hit a wall because I was just exhausted. I was
Hmm.
volunteered out, and then I looked around and I was like, I ain't got no friends that I don't do stuff for. Like, all my friends, are associated with an organization that I volunteer with. And nothing against my friends that are going to watch this podcast. I love you. But I kind of got in my feelings about it. I was like, why don't nobody just like me for me? And then it really kind of, I went into my own slump and my own depressive state. Like, well, what's my value if I'm not given? And I had to really go to God with that stuff and figure out that I am a daughter of the High King. I do have value for just being me. I don't have to serve in different ways. And I started to slowly pull myself off of boards and not serve at such a high level of leadership all the time because I was just getting decision fatigue.
Hmm.
I'm already an HR professional. I'm already a consultant. I go into companies all over the place and solve their problems, which does feed me. That's my natural, but I can't do it like all the time in all my areas of life. So like at church, I'm like, can I just set up the tables? Just put me to work because I sit at the desk almost all day. But if I can like mow the lawn or cut down some old lady's tree, like that's the way I want to serve Jesus. Just pick things up and put them down. No responsibilities, no leadership. I just want to be a worker bee for the day. Can I just do that?
I love that. That's kind of like the same thing me and my family do. So with our church, we call it first Saturday serve. So
Yes.
every month we go out. So it's either at a homeless community, a food bank, it's a hospital for kids, or what I love that our team does as well too is they'll find a local home within a community house that needs to be fixed
Spruced
up.
up. Yeah.
So we'll go there and we'll cut the grass, we'll paint, we'll edge things up, you name it. We go out there and then have a
Yeah.
good time with them. We
Yeah.
also did something cool too as well, where we brought out like a barbecue and like made I had like a block party for the entire neighborhood. So that was pretty
Yes.
cool too as well too. But I love
Yeah.
that aspect of just volunteering, giving back with our church as well.
Well, that immediate gratification, so much of what you and I do is a long game. We're playing that infinite game for the kingdom and for business. There is no end. It's always going to be going. So sometimes to show up to a mess and leave with it done, it's like, oh, okay, I did something today. Because sometimes I go home just tired, and my husband's like, well, how was your day? I was like, well, I fired one person and hired four more and wrote a report and did these things, and I don't know. I think I did good. Like, everybody was happy. So I love that. I love that. So do you have kiddos?
Yeah, so we have a kid that's in college. He's going for his he's in med school. So
Okay.
he's in North Carolina going for his med school degree. And
Okay.
then we have a 16-year-old that's in high school right now, and he's a junior. He's in our high school's engineering program, and he's a student athlete. So he's running back for his high school right now. That's doing really, really well as well.
That's awesome. You got two smart ones.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
What kind of they're both boys, you said?
Two boys. Yep, two
Yeah.
boys.
Okay. So as a dad, never been one. So as a dad, how do you how do you go about like entering this adult child relationship? I lost my mom when I was 23 and she had been an addict, and I just don't know. Mine's 20 and 15, almost 16. And I'm like, I don't know what this adult relationship is supposed to look like. You're a step ahead of me on one of them. Like, what is that transition like?
So let me tell you this. So
Okay.
it's interesting. So our story is, I'll give you more of a backstory about me and my wife's story. So she was my second wife,
Uh-huh.
and we were in a blended family, and her son was from a previous relationship.
Okay.
So I met her son at 9 years old,
Okay.
and we were together and developed a relationship. Things are going great, and we got married after being together for over 6 years. And after 6 months of marriage, we got divorced in 6 months.
Oh no.
And we had to really, really go back to the drawing board. With that being said, that really affected the relationship and the dynamics in
Yeah.
regards to like parenting and co-parenting and having a blended family,
Yeah.
which is another dynamic of
Oh, it's a
raising
special
kids, things like
circumstance.
that as well.
My 20-year-old is a stepson. So
But what really worked out to the benefit and for the good, that's when I was going through my transitional phases of things, of working on things and figuring things out.
mm,
And going through that process, the kids were a part of that process with our counselors and things like that. So they
right.
got to understand more about me and why I was dealing with certain things and how things were affecting me. So there's a bit of a compassion, a bit of empathy
Yeah.
on their side to understand like this is what Michael is going through. These are some things that he was dealing with that I was not vulnerable or transparent with them about, as men don't really talk about some of these things or carry some of these things that we were facing. And I had to learn to get past that. But once I was able to do some of those things, we still had a relationship. And then me and his mom got remarried back again. So our family is back together completely intact. And it took a while to work on that relationship with the older one, but
Yeah.
he had grace, and through that our relationship is much better now, and it's awesome. And the mom, my wife, she helped cultivate that too as well. And what's been amazing by that is now that we're having these types of conversation, as he's a young adult, he's 24 years
Right.
old, but
Yeah.
but what is amazing now is that he's calling me dad, right? At 24 years old, right? And now we're having the conversations in regards to some of these things that he's hoping and dreaming for, some of these tough conversations that he may be having with relationship or with
Right.
school, or with finances. And now he's looking at life from different perspective and different avenues. And to be someone there that's as a father, as a mentor, kind of just empowering him and just encourage him just to see his growth and see his development is super,
Right.
super amazing.
It
For
is.
my younger son, he's 16. His all is on his mind is just have he's a four his GPA is 4.1 in high school, so he's doing phenomenally well. But his big thing is football, football, football. So we just told him as long as you maintain the 4.1, you could go to almost any college that you really want to,
Right.
as long as you keep on doing the amazing things that you're doing. But for
Yeah.
the most part, he's a humble kid, respectful kid, and the relationship between me and him is amazing because when he was younger, I used to call him chubby because he has chubby cheeks. And to see him just always with me, always around me, and just always like inquisitive and kind of still like in the playful mode kind of thing. Like he
Right.
still like loves his dad and cherishes dad and embraces dad. I really love that part of just being a dad with him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mine went through kind of a stinky age. He's 20 now, and he stopped liking sitting close to you on the couch and stuff. I entered his life when he was just 2, and he's always been um, just more attached to females. He was very attached to his biological mother, and rather attached to me, and loved his dad well enough, but wasn't like a snuggler with him. And so then he started kind of getting out of that, and now it's back. Like he doesn't have to prove anything. He's not unsure about stuff. He knows our relationship is good. He doesn't really remember a life without me, but we had the dynamic of just a really harsh custody battle. There was a custody battle, and then like CPS intervened. And my husband was granted custody because of what was going on in his other home. And then there was some alienation and stuff. So for him, it was really hard. He's like, I don't know who's telling me the truth. I don't know what's what. But for my husband to be able to watch him really honor his ex-wife in a way that was of a high level of integrity, knowing that she was cussing him like a dog, now that we're kind of out of that and away from all of that, our son sees like, no, dad's stable. Dad's, he ain't in his feelings about nothing. No decisions are based on that. It was always just, it's what the courts required, kind of thing. So I think for him kind of coming out of all of that and growing into the little man that he is, I still can't believe that he's 20. It's just been such an honor to be able to still maintain that relationship. So I love that.
I do too. I think that's amazing. As you're telling me that, it's great that your husband was able to maintain that high level of integrity, and he was an example for his son to see that. Because whenever parents get into bashing each other and things like that, you put so much confusion on the
Yeah.
child, and you're forcing them to make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a dynamic that parents don't want to get into. And I say that because when I first got divorced, it was not easy for my
Right.
first wife. It was hard as hell. And we had to go through a custody battle, being in the courtroom over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
But now we've matured. We've gotten
Right.
so much better where the relationship is awesome. It's just awesome now. Between me, my son, my ex-wife, it's just amazing where there's just like growing and just developing into the person that we should have been in regards to like being parents for our son.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we all kind of grow up and we realize that our feelings really aren't that important.
Right.
How we behave and how we honor God in the way that we handle ourselves is what's important. Because I can say some of the biggest fights that my husband and I have ever had 10 years ago, I can't even really tell you what they were about.
Same here.
I don't even know. I just remember being mad, like big mad. And so once you get through that and you got a little bit of history behind you, you're like, all right, I'm big mad, but I ain't gonna act a fool. I want to go in my closet. I'm gonna pray. Where young Dawn would leave and go to the bar and make him jealous. And that ain't doing that ain't honoring God. That ain't honoring my husband.
Right.
So I always joke with my husband. We've been married 16 years now, and I'm like, "How have you loved all the versions of me?" Like ratchet, broken Dawn, Jesus loving Dawn, business Dawn. Like I don't know how he deals with it, honestly, because he's just solid. He's just him, like all the time, and that's God knew what I needed. So he's my string to my balloon for sure.
That's what's up.
What's your wife's temperament?
My
Is she
wife's temperament, she is a
is she mellow
she
or is she high
She's kind of
energy?
mellow. She's like the nurturer of the family. So she's the one that's always like making sure like everything is good.
Right.
So she's the project manager of everything,
Household. Yeah,
of the
household
household
manager.
and everything that we do.
I love
And
that.
so, and I think that's probably part of her upbringing. So she's from Atlanta, Georgia, and she grew up in a household of taking care of like the family, making sure. So like
Right.
I our family don't have to worry about the vacations that's planned. We don't have to worry about the meals. We don't have to worry about the transportation, like
Right.
logistics and all those things. We
Right.
just show up and it's already done and taken care of. So she's the more of the person that's going to make sure that we're all good. She's so even after dinner, like how's the food, or when you come to the place, is there anything that you want, anything that we could help
Right.
you? So that's her.
Is
That's
she
her
involved in
attitude.
your business at all in the background?
No, she's not
No.
involved in the business. Not yet. I am pushing her towards her entrepreneur
Okay.
journey because I think she does have a path in regards to she has a deep passion of helping kids get into college, and
Mhm.
she's gotten our other son into University of Miami, into UNC.
There you go.
She's helped another family get their daughter into University of Southern California, and she's helped another kid get into school in
People will
Minnesota.
pay good money for that. She has got to.
And I was telling her, I was telling her, you have a talent here of finding ways to get kids into college that you have not tapped into yet. But at the
Uh-huh.
moment, she does a phenomenal job. She works for AWS with Amazon, and
Hmm.
that's a big job, big responsibility. She's their technical account manager, and she managed most of the database for some of your big hospitals across the United States.
Wow. Awesome. Power couple right there. That's amazing. So if you were to tell 18-year-old Michael just one thing that he needs to know that might just save him a little grief, maybe a little money, what would you tell 18-year-old Michael?
If I was to tell 18-year-old Michael one lesson, that lesson would be trust in your instincts, trust in
Mm-hmm.
yourself, believe in yourself. I found throughout my life that one of my God-given skills or abilities is to really be good at problem solving.
Hmm.
And I used to doubt that and not tap into that. So I used to second guess myself about a lot of things in life.
Yeah,
But it
that
was
just
not until getting confirmation of doing things and pushing myself through things to seeing that, yeah, you are right on this. You could trust in yourself and believe in yourself because lo and behold, God has given you all of the skills, the talents, and the ability to do anything that He presents in front of you. So
Mhm.
there's nothing that you actually really cannot do.
Right.
And so it's more so just trusting yourself, believing yourself, and knowing that you can really accomplish anything if you set your mind out to
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. That's a good word right there. It's
it.
hard though. I think I would give myself the same advice. But the gift of discernment is a powerful one.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Michael, for joining me today. It's just been a pleasure to get to know a little bit more about you. If you ever need a dynamic speaker or you just want to level up your business and kind of get to the root of what's holding you back, give Michael a call. All of his information is going to be in the comments below. Thank you so much, guys. Take care.
Hey, Don, thank you so much.
Thanks again for spending time with us today. If you want more HR stories and resources, go to simplythebest.com to join our newsletter. That's SIPLEY. Until next time, stay happy.